into those semifinals, finals, and even perhaps beating the top of the tops. No surprises on the rosters. AMS still in reserve for the side of Rule 1. Infinity in blue, Rule 1 in orange, and this is a best of 7. We might be here for a good old time, but it doesn't take too much long for time for Rule 1 to open up the score.
Gotta love it when you hype up a team and then they solo standard special their way into what was a great fake by Roas. Killiers goes right post, but I mean, there's one for Finna over on Twitter. A nice camera capture there. Rule 1 early lead.
Well, immediately with an advantage, and Infinity with a handicap that it will have to overcome. There's literally nothing to talk about just yet about their gameplay because we have not seen enough. This counterattack, although could be dangerous, but Suspect and Ruaz are trying to work their ball through. Vampire and Suspect, you could see, trying to go for the same ball, but not reaching out.
Yeah, a little bit of discombobulation, maybe a bit of nerves. They know what's on the line today, and Vampire shoots high. That was the best shooting opportunity because it was the only shooting opportunity so far for Infinity. Suspect's going to put this one away. Roas with a shot on target, moves him back into the center. Vampires almost finds Hatton, but instead it's going to be going all the way back to the backboard via a Rule 1 player. Roas looking to clean up the mess. They're allowing Infinity onto them once again. Suspect goes up, wins the race over 2, double commit, but Roas is there first. Vampires not quick enough.
Already, and look at that pressure from Infinity. Continuous shot on target. Who was not in time to make it into the net. And it's the pressure. Infinity, after they were scored upon, went into the Rule 1 side and continued on the pressure. They had so much space, so much time to put these shots. And finally, one goes in. Rule 1 not with a chance to return back to net to defensive positions.
Classy finish from Suspect, and well, those first minute jitters out the way. Infinity starting to look more like the organizational outfit than before, but that is just open. Open the door, let your friends in, let them take your money, why don't you? Roas straight from the sidewall, a complete miss there, unfortunately. And Rule 1 quickly re-established that lead.
Well, the air traffic control said that, yeah, you need to be at different heights, and Hatton, unfortunately, was the one flying lower. No chance for him to intercept the opposition. They have to act fast. That's the rule of play versus Rule 1. You need to be as fast, if not faster, than them to get any of the chances to play against them. Well, just as quickly as Infinity scored, there was a chance. But Rule 1 back in the lead. And for them, those openings look much... Again, I don't want to say easier. Nothing about this is easy. But it is looking that Infinity are going to have to climb a hill in this series.
It's a different style of pressure. Honestly, they probably didn't have any pressure going against Falcons because you expect to lose that series. But now that you've beaten Falcons, now that you're here, you're almost putting it on your shoulders. If you could beat Falcons, you can beat anyone in this region. And the mistakes do still come out. Oh, that was lining up quite nicely for Vampires, but for Killers in the way. Suspect loose ball, and Mosen deals with it. Suspect takes out Roas, however, and Hatton gives it straight to Mosen. A couple of mistakes building up, and he really is the player to watch out for. He could be the unlocking mechanism for Infinity, or he could be their biggest weakness, Jam. This is the furthest he has gotten in a MENA region.
Now we're watching Hatton and how he approaches the play, how he approaches the 50s versus Rule 1. And for many of the viewers, this perhaps going to be the first time look at that save. But it's again, look at how Rule 1 just has all that time and positioning just to threaten the net of Infinity. This is not going to go through the defense of Rule 1, and we're immediately returning back to the blue side of the field. Where's the next chance going to appear? After Infinity had that control of the orange side of the field, even the penalty area of Rule 1, we haven't seen the same bout of possession from them.
Yeah, Hatton is all over the place. I've been keeping an eye on him personally, and he's out of rotation, he's making misplays, missing the ball. Vampires and Suspect look comfortable, they look at home, and they've got to G up Hatton. They've got to say, look, we believe in you, we have faith in your abilities, but we need you to play to that potential. Roas 1v1 hits the backboard. They don't have to necessarily pressure as much as they are. They do have that 1-goal lead. 2 would certainly be daylight and then some. Hatton in field. Vampires misses the ball though. Kalirs picks it up. His 1v1 versus Suspect. Goes for the near post, and Suspect takes way too long trying to make a decision on when to encounter the challenge. Too late, Jam. 3-1.
You don't want to be versus Killers in the 1v1, and you could see Suspect has to reach for the farthest post for him, while Killers sees everything in front of him laid out, takes enough time to scoop the ball on this hoop, gets the flick going. Precision, of course, what did you expect from Killers? And Rule 1 now with a 2-goal lead with Infinity. Again, after that little bit of possession and a little bit of pressure that we thought, okay, is this how they control their game versus Falcons? Hold on that thought. 2 are required to stop the shot from happening.
Much better, but it's a little too late. They need to find 2 goals, not just the one, to take it to overtime, and it's fallen kindly here to Roas. Vampires picks his pocket and heads on a little sprint down to the far corner, misses out on the 100. Kaliz picks it up and doesn't exactly palm it off to Roas, but somehow still finds him. Infinity a little slow to the punch here. Roas off the backboard. Up goes Mosen. Looking to hit that backboard again. Might dip under, actually. Suspect off his own backboard yet again. Miss from both players. Hatem comes down on it. Vampires, there's Kaliz. Watch out for the impossible angle. Mosen going for it now. Unrelenting pressure from Infinity, and finally a breath of fresh air.
There was definitely just beats one, beats the second one, gonna collect 100 in the corner, goes for the bump because he knows his teammates are supporting him, and just like that, Will1 almost driving forward to a 4th goal on their side with less than half a minute remaining. I could have just said 30 seconds, but less than a half a minute remaining. The 2-goal differential for Will1 should see them through, especially if they're going to continue the same control. The problem from Infinity is they have been struggling to get their rotation chained up. And as a result, possession is almost a forgotten memory from them compared to the beginning of this match.
When you build the house on top of marshmallows, it's not going to be a stable foundation, a freebie. A go-away goal for Rule 1, the final scoreline, unless we do have a miracle goal off the kickoff, will end at 4-1. And I guess many might be expecting that will come to be the series scoreline if Infinity can find, as you rightly say, Jam, the synergy that has gotten them this far in the competition already. When you concede so early on, it's obviously not great, but you can recover from it. But there were so many moments in that game where the right ideas were in place, but the execution was really sloppy.
Yeah, we're yet to see the great shooting percentage of Hatem. We're yet to see the Vampires pretty much with the same stats. What we've seen is killers. One of the players, just out of the old stat lines, there is a complete outlier, but killers out of all the teams that are still remaining in the tournament so far is basically the best player. Maybe by a small margin, but rather in terms of shooting percentage at the very least, but he is up top there, and that hat trick proves just that. It is so hard to play versus him 1v1s in a team play environment when the setups are being made from the backboard, or even in situations where the double tap opportunity is open for one of the players. That was really the main weapon for Rule 1 that I do not think that the side of Infinity was able to control in any way. Double taps were just an open season for Rule 1, and you see how deadly they are with those.
I was casting some collegiate yesterday, Jam, and honestly, similar mistakes coming out from Infinity. At this level of Rocket League, that's simply unacceptable. If you're going to go for an aerial challenge, you got to get the car at least. You know, I don't mind if you don't get the ball, but at least get the trajectory right. And too many times, it wasn't just Hatem. We were seeing Rule 1 given free airspace, plenty of time on the ball to set up, like you say, those backboard passes, which it was open season with the amount of chances that they were creating. It's no wonder that they were able to put 4 goals away. Into Game 2, though, and it is a fresh slate, Jam. Let's see if Infinity can do a little bit better.
Now, for starters, Infinity should not concede in first 5 seconds. That's already is going to set them in good stead. And then start working from what you already had, and again, utilize the players that are comfortable with one another. How about this? Hatem goes first, Suspect calls him off. Vampire is going to be going through this, but the problem is now Suspect is way out, Vampires is way out. Nobody can right now support the last player, and Hatem's going to be 1 versus 3. I do not fancy those odds.
Infinity not talking to each other. That was the double commit, an unnecessary one. They could have sustained that for a little bit longer. Meanwhile, down the other side, Hatem with a huge save to deny Roas. That was a nice setup. Suspect gets in the way of Mosen, but once again, this full momentum really not forthcoming. It's a demo. It's an open net. Kaliz gets his 4th of the series.
You could see there's nothing for the side of Infinity. Hatem out. Vampires loses the challenge, and Roas just continues on going. Killers or no killers, this was a guaranteed goal for Rule 1, and they just slice, dice, and completely eliminate the defense of Infinity. Be it with demos, be it with passes, or just with the good challenges, it seems like everything is currently coming up Rule 1.
House foundations made of marshmallows. Will they become architects of their own downfall yet again? At 1-0, it's recoverable, but those crossfield passes are far too easy to intercept. It's Suspect. Up high he goes, but on the backboard, there's Roas. Excellent game management, falls on it as well. Should we expect any less from the young maestro, Hatem? to Suspect. Misses it through the corner, gets the pinch off the ground. Kaliers is quick to react. Vampires on the other side now, that's loose. Kaliers follows up, gets the demo. Hatem spikes it upwards, a steal on that 100 boost. Infinity lacking resources and lacking a bit of hope at the moment.
That's the problem. I'm constantly seeing Infinity down on their luck in terms of boost, and it's hurting them both in the offense and the defense. And Rule1 are just too happy to collect everything that there is on the field. Without boost, you cannot win the game, you cannot control the ball, start attacks, follow your clears to the other side of the field. And Rule1 might just keep on tightening that grip like vice on their opposition and win a game after game after game. We haven't seen a goal from Infinity in a good old while, and questions are starting to rise. Can Vampires maybe clarify some of these things? A clear in front of the net, and out we go again.
Such technically gifted players are difficult to deal against, but demo is certainly a good way to go about it. Lovely fake, and if Vampires have been on the same idea, on the same wavelength as Suspect, then maybe we would be talking about 1-1. It is still a close game. Obviously, well, now it's not a close game, unfortunately. Kaliers there puts it away. As if on cue, folks, the King of Cursed remains.
He just continues on going. Killers, there was everybody calling each other up, but Killers just be half a car further on. And still, even with that double positioning, Infinity cannot do anything. The precision from Killers is sublime, keeps on hitting that left corner when he knows that the opposition has to go the whole width of the field, or the whole width of the net. Vampires with some shots. But that touch from Killers is great. It keeps it to the side, not too far away. But Infinity are not deep enough to collect that ball either. All the while, beautiful dribbles, and he almost did it again, Relic. He almost did it again.
It's a team that is desperately lacking communication, and a team that's desperately waiting for something to go right. You've got to make your own luck in Rocket League, and that is true no matter what level you play. Suspect taking out Kaliers in the midfield. Mosin over one, Suspect waits, called off by Vampires, I'd hope, goes through the corner and over the top of Roas. Mosin steps in, that's heading straight back to the backboard. Hatem, not the best clearance, even with Suspect as a support mechanism. It ends up in Rule1 hands once again, the lift. Mosin there, just burning off the time of the canter.
That's the thing, Rule1 are just around, and every single time they receive the ball, wow, it was goal number 3, and this game is heading downhill for the side of Infinity, all the while Rule1 are already gearing for the next one. The problem is, wherever Infinity put the ball, I see inability to immediately receive that pass, all the while Rule1 are positioned just right to receive any clears, any blocks, anything that Infinity throws at them. There just has not been a question asked of Rule1 that they could not answer, and it's all questions about Infinity and how they can progress in this one.
Yeah, we can criticize Infinity all we like, but Rule1 are playing really well. You know, they are playing exactly as we would hope. I mean, look at this. When your duo is double committing, you know something is wrong. Maybe they ate something bad for breakfast. Maybe the vibes are off. Maybe someone's getting angry. Well, you got to channel that anger positively. There's no good complaining now. Rule1 are running this series as if it's a training exercise.
And for them, it's going to be the training exercise for the grand finals. This is obviously calling it way too early, and we're just hypothesizing, but Rule1 are looking like the team that should be fighting in the grand finals for the spot for those $9,000 for the 24 points in the overall standings as well. And speaking of those points, it's right now between Rule1. There's nothing between Rule1 and Infinity right now. 0 and 4. It's a done deal in this one. But Rule1 are currently behind Falcons in points in the overall standings for Worlds. And that point difference is the difference between taking the first spot, winning one of these spring events, and not gaining any points whatsoever, not qualifying for the main event. That's the huge gap that there sort of is between those two teams. But Rule1s are still clearly showing why they are. They came into the scene and currently are one of the best teams in.
Rule1 can't believe their luck. This is the epitome of a banana peel game in theory, and I think as much as we can praise Rule1, on the other side, I think the criticism of Infinity is valid. I don't think they're playing anywhere near the level that we have seen over the past couple of days, and that is very disappointing. Good news for them, they have a tactical timeout if they want to use it. It is only 2-0 in the series. There is still time to come back And perhaps there is, of course, a little matter of complacency that might creep into Rule 1's play. Goodness no, these hero players like to flex from now and again, but it's not looking good if you're a fan of close series. Rule 1 2-0 up.
I would love to see. See, Infinity is the only team at this stage of the tournament that has come from the closed qualifiers. They are the hope of everybody, of those underdogs that are coming into the Spring Open. And right now, yeah, we are just not seeing the same quality that has gotten them through in the series versus Falcons. And yeah, they do have 2 more games potentially to fix this. And to absolutely nobody's surprise, Infinity have called for a timeout, and they are right now all hands on deck. Any ideas that they have need to be brought forward, and they need to fix this. Of course, they do have a coach with them, Natra. Melvin Garcia is going to be helping them out, make any sense out of it all. The problem is, again, we can obviously point out mistakes of Infinity, but Relic, as you said, it's Rule 1 playing by the book, and when they're playing by the book, it seems like nobody can stop them.
It's simple, talk and play better. I mean, it is that bad for them at the moment. Game 1, you feel for them because everything was going wrong. Game 2 felt as close to a throw as you would have seen from any of these teams. It was shambolic at times. You know me, I don't usually get this critical of players, especially in an unbiased environment, but there was nothing positive to take from that game. And so the tactical timeout becomes a necessity more than anything. If it's nerves, all right, I understand it's high stakes. You're playing for a lot of money. Take faith. You beat Falcons. Okay, might have been Falcons on an off day, sure, but you still beat them for a reason. Communication for me, the keystone of any sort of recovery. Far too many double commits, far too many times where it's clear nobody knew where each other was on the field. And then, Jam, you can start to build up from there. Go for maybe shorter passing style plays. You don't have to play faster. You just got to play smarter.
Well, I feel like this is exactly what might get them through, because beating Rule 1 at a speed game, only a few can claim to be able to do that. For Infinity, perhaps it's the approach of smarter, not harder. Let's see if that's exactly going to be their approach. Game number 3. And again, the time is still there. 2 more potential games in reserve for Infinity to start something up. And the embarrassment of the first game immediately conceding is off. But there's an embarrassment of double commit for an aerial, and who has boost? It's definitely not Infinity. They're gathering something, but Killers can just almost run circles around that team. Look at how gracious he is in the air.
Okay, again, if you're not going to hit the ball, at least hit the car. Killers stopped in his tracks, and ball into blue possession for a brief moment. Suspect helps it forward, but Rule 1 is all set up. Here's Vampires. Really should be going for a second touch there. Again, you've got to think smarter. Keep it away from Rule 1. Killy is lurking at the near post, almost goaltending, waiting for the receival of a pass. Roas. Oh, not going to get past Hatem. Motion through the corner, and Killies isn't going to get that slicer. Vampires with the clearance. First minute cleared.
It seems like Rule 1 have also learned something of their opponents and are utilizing it to great extent. Rule-wise and the rest of Rule 1 have spotted how eager Infinity players are up to get for the challenges, so they're playing it slow. Rule 1 are always faking out on these potential pops into the air and trying to sneak the ball underneath, and now Infinity have to play mind games which one it's gonna be, and it's getting, pardon the pun, infinitely harder for the side of Infinity to get anything done versus the team currently in the league.
I'll raise your pun with a need to go to beyond their current capabilities in order to overturn this Rule 1 advantage. But as long as they keep the goals out, there is always chance of a breakaway. Vampires, can he start something? Well, he's made his way through Roas at the very least. Killies with a slight touch, but beats out Suspect. Here's Hatem, and Suspect continues to harry. Hatem tries to go underneath Mosin, smart play. Vampires runs straight into the front bumper of Mosin. Suspect, and there's Khalil's Rule 1 and their situational awareness. A masterclass in this series so far.
Right now, what we're seeing in front of the net of Rule 1 is Rule 1 are surviving, again, through their positional awareness and just environment awareness, as you mentioned, but also through the fact that Infinity are moving forward with with chaos. Ooh, this is an open opportunity. Vampires ahead of the ball. cannot keep the possession, and so the slightest of the opportunities for Infinity goes away begging. But they made it back into the orange side of the field as close to the net as they possibly can. Infinity. The problem is they are doing so through those wild pinches, through touches that nobody really has control over, and so Infinity doesn't get an upper hand. Rule 1 sort of cannot get anything out of that situation, counterattack perhaps, and overall it's almost like a stalemate. Also displayed on the scoreboard. For the longest time in the series, we have not seen a goal in 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
well, we have seen a goal in 3 minutes, and it is a disaster class for Infinity. Vampires go sideways. You never want to do that. Suspect commits, and Hatem so far forward. He might as well be in the next postcode. Should be way further back to have more time to react to that. And once again, defensive frailties undoes the good work that Infinity's put in.
Ever make a long point and then it's absolutely nullified right at the end as you put a period on it?
Oh, I know. I know.
That's what they did. Credit to Infinity, they're back on the attack, but look at the transitional play. Ruaz this close, and you cannot see it because we're not on cameras, but this close to collecting that pass and pretty much shooting it straight on target of Infinity in a counterattack that should have netted a second for Rule 1. And they're back on the midfield line, and Infinity once again are looking like the team with their prospects. I don't know where to look for their prospects anymore. I'm at the end of their tactics book, and I see nothing.
They haven't scored in 13 minutes, and quite frankly, based on the form that they're in right now, doesn't look like they are going to score again. Nice work from Suspect. Gets all the way to the backboard. Dunks on Kalirs, goes sideways. Unfortunate. By far their best move of the game. Might be their best move in the last 10 minutes, truth be told. Roas, though, beats Suspect. It's open net. Backboard. Suspect has to deal with it. Away it goes. Hatem on the scene. Gets a really poor touch in the air. Up goes Vampires. They're expending so much boost to just clean up each other's mistakes.
Credit to Infinity, they managed to get out of their house more. They're no longer hermits of the blue side, and for the most part, of course, that was the by doing of Rule 1. Mazen with a demo, man advantage, referee, touching the player. Rocket League, it's part of the game, man advantage straight up, and you could see the killer just boosts for it, even collects them mid-air. That's the ultimate disrespect, or perhaps the ultimate gameplay.
Yeah, the draft was submitted weeks in advance. All Rule 1 had to do was play it out. And when you're double committing on a kickoff, you know things are bad. It goes from bad to worse. And Infinity are getting pummeled into the ground here.
You can see Hatem immediately nullified that challenge. Vampires versus Mazen should have resulted into some sort of touch from the blue side. Nothing. Hence, two players immediately beat with one touch, and right at the end, when now it's Rule 1's advantage in front of Infinity's net, you know how this is gonna go. Killer is immediately going for Hatem back on the background, and they make it work. They're toying with their opposition. Rule 1 they just look at it. Look at it. No words are needed, just look at it.
Avert your eyes, children. This could get really messy. And I wish I could tell you all, I wish in good faith I could tell you all that maybe, just maybe, there's one game on the horizon for Infinity. I was, of course, saying, oh, maybe it's going to be a 4-1 scoreline. I don't see that, Jam. I see a team that is playing fantastically in Rule 1 and has every reason to think that they should be favourites for the rest of this regional going onward. In Infinity, I see a team that has no spine, no confidence, and more importantly, no goals. It's match point for Rule 1.
Oh dear, oh my. One thing, and I don't even want to say that this would be one possibility, because it's not a possibility that Infinity would create. It's a possibility that Rule 1 would create for their opposition, and that is letting their controllers down just one game early. For what we've seen when Rule 1 just came into the scene, Killers, was, and back then Nader, it was that roster Rule 1 was not able to close down series. And hence, I hope that they have learned that lesson and will be able to do so. Again, they're currently, quote-unquote, the reigning champions of Middle East, as they have won the latest of the Winter Invitational specifically. So they definitely can win. No doubts about that. And they finished second in the other two regionals in the Winter Split. So let's see if there is a window, a sliver of opportunity that Rule 1 can give Infinity, because Infinity seems to have thrown all of their cards on the table, and there's maybe like a high card, like an ace, and that's all they have.
Yeah, I'd argue whether they even have access to the poker table at the moment, Jam. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. I mean, look, when you have your tactical timeout, you want to see a bit of resilience, and we did see that. Let's like sing some praises for them. They were a lot more resilient in the first half of that game than what we saw previously. So much so that we were thinking maybe a counter-attacking chance, maybe if Rule 1 slips up, there's an opportunity. As soon as that opening goal goes in, Rule 1 never looked back. It's like Infinity just drop all arms and are like, well, there's another game gone. It might as well be the series. Oh, it's almost number 1 within 7 seconds. A repeat of game number 1. Suspect standing in net, motionless. Show some signs of life, please.
Oh, he has to jump over killers, then he's backwards, out of boost. Feel like he did everything that he could. The problem is Rule 1 crashes on you like a hurricane. Really a category 5 hurricane, and it's madness, absolute madness that happens in front of you, Net. I'm just worried that the scoreline is going to be of the kind that we cannot show to kids. So since we've just started this game for Utopia Coliseum, it's going to be dystopia for Infinity if this continues. Suspect with a chance, hitting up his own teammate, had him maybe with a goal.
Nice shot. Okay.
How about that?
There you go. There you go. That's their first goal in 15 minutes. Backboard hit. Hatem. High shooting accuracy. Third highest shooting accuracy of the entire MENA field going into today. That's why I was going to make a cruel joke about how to tank your stats in a series. Well, you know what? That's better. And it at least puts them on a level footing. Now they've got to try and find one more, Jam. That is something that they have not done this entire series.
That's the problem. So far, 1 has been the extent of capabilities of Infinity, but if you want to get one game rather, off Rule 1, it needs to be right now, but so open. Again, let's look at the replay, because just for a second, this was looking okay, but Suspect challenges Hatem tripped over himself as he was trying to dodge a bump, almost likely bumped out of the position. And Rule 1 should not be getting these looks, not in the upper finals. You never want to allow Rule 1 just drive up, say, I'll keep this, and drive up.
I don't mind Hatem so much. Suspect's got to get that. It's just easy double touch. And to be quite frank, Rule 1 can just ease up now. I don't think that they're going to be too much more threatened. Infinity got their goal. There's nothing to say that they'll get another here. It would be the first time this series that they've scored 2. It'd be the first time this series that they've come from behind twice. But that is a loose ball, and Mosen has to chuck it away. Hatem back in, but it's so easily read.
For now, nothing has been of that was not overcome by Rule 1 in terms of what Infinity has thrown at them. He has those 2 goals total. We're talking 2 goals total for the Zaven Infinity. It's not fun. And you could see Rule 1 right now are playing without fear. This is how Infinity currently needs to be playing out, but look at that. Just killers out. Ruaz sets up his teammate Mazen through a demo up on front. They are reducing Infinity to 2 players. They're killing their rotation altogether. And in the end, the goals keep on accruing. Suspect tries to play slow off the kickoff, but even then, he just immediately stopped.
They turned up to the theatre. They're expecting to see a tense thriller, and instead, it's a comedy. They're all laughing. They're having fun. The vibes, as one would say, are immaculate. Infinity still have that goal on the board. They still have 3 minutes left. There is still time for a plot twist. And Suspect, oh, unbelievable Goomba stomp on Vampires. I don't even think that it was expected. Vampires misses this one. Hatem back into the center. Why Suspect has trailed over too far. That was a perfect passing opportunity. Hatem had every right to throw it there. What is Suspect doing? What has distracted him?
I feel like it was just a tad off, and as a result, a perfect pass to the middle gets nullified and reload once again. We can look at Infinity, but look at Rule 1, how quick they are to jump on that rotation. Their player is so advanced that just 1 interception and everybody is beat. Offside trap? There's no offside trap for Rule 1. they just find their counterattacking, not even a rollout, just a shot. And speaking, I was expecting Killers to just get another one. How many goals is he gonna have by the end of the series? I'm pretty sure he should be at 10-ish by this point.
Roughly, yeah.
He is putting numbers of his lifetime. All the while, Rule 1 are picking a game after game. 2 minutes to find something that Infinity have been able to find across all series, and that is not even goals, but bravery and consistency.
I'm afraid that the next 2 minutes, folks, are going to be about if Infinity can score again, and if Rule 1 can reach the fabled Brazil. Looking closer to a second Infinity goal, to give them credit. Here's Suspect. That is an excellent bit of shot placement. Look how low he goes. Look at the power he generates here. Infield from Hatton, yet again, creating this wonderful opportunity. Suspect puts it away. Game on? Question mark?
Game on. That's what we have to assume. I do not believe Infinity all of a sudden says, well, that's enough. That's as best that we can do. All throughout the series, they've been trying to show something. Vampires, perhaps a double tap.
Why?
Suspect goes high, but
why?
Why? You're the one collecting the ball on the ground. The ball is not getting to you unless it bounces to you afterwards. Too eager to get something, too eager to be a hero. And that attack breaks down, and now we find ourselves back on the blue side of the field where Rule 1 has proven that it's almost that they own the play.
Suspect, sideways, Mosen, forwards. If that isn't a nice, well-rounded way to describe this series, I don't know what is. Suspect again, goes in field. Easily readable. Oh, Vampis. Oh, no. Suspect, you've got to put that away. Hatton back to the back four, but look at this. It's not even a high press. It's throwing away the defense because they don't need it anymore. It's worthless. And you know what? If this is what's going to get them a goal, fair play. That's a back pass. Good news, Suspect was in place, but he's also decided to drive forwards afterwards. Rule 1 should be 5-2-1.
By this point, perhaps so past midfield, Suspect cuts it out. Those needed to come a bit earlier in the series, but at the very least it saves the embarrassment and another gap in the goal differential. Set up on the backboard, and this time we're just looking at the clock. Infinity are looking at the clock. The fans of Rule 1 are looking at the clock and are about to celebrate with their team moving into the grand finals. More setups, and right now Rule 1, all they need to do is just throw the ball to the backboard, force Infinity to react, because a counterattack is not gonna happen. That is a perfect clear. I think that settles it. Rule 1 in 4 games, and Infinity will have to see next time what are they made of, and can they repeat the performance of this region.
The most one-sided semi-final in memory. I don't recall a semi-final being so utterly one-sided. The traffic lights were showing only one way for Rule 1. It was a red light for Infinity. Stop here. Do not pass go. How do I sum them up? No confidence, no communication, mechanically all over the place, rotations all over the place, showing no spirit, no heart, except for that 2.5 minutes in game number 3. Do better, because you've got one more chance to find yourself with a win and to progress forwards. Otherwise, what was the point in turning up today? Please show us more of that Infinity magic that we saw earlier in the bracket.
Well, again, until next time, until the Spring Cup is going to be happening later on in the year. It's a shame. I'm always a fan of an underdog team. I'm always a fan of a surprise. We expect of Rule 1 and Falcons to make it as far as semis, grand finals, but it's team like Infinity, well, with familiar faces, but unfamiliar combinations, and definitely unexpectedly, team from close qualifiers making it that far is what I really am cheering for. Well, again, they've proved it once. They can continue to prove it again. Their task is going to be as hard, if not harder, come the next regional. But I'm cheerful. I'm hoping for them to learn all from everything that they've done today and become stronger. On the side of Rule 1, though, they have their tools.
Oh, brilliant!
They are not afraid to use it. Something that we haven't mentioned perhaps that much is they implode their opposition off the field. I'm pretty sure the demo counter, I'm trying to quickly look up the stats right now, I would say 15 demos in total. They were not shy about just slicing through that defense of Infinity and make an advantage for themselves, despite Rule 1 already having a grand advantage in speed, passing plays, almost everything on the field.
That wasn't a 6 out of 10 administration run. That was 9s, 10s. They could not have hoped for a better semi-final jam to set them up for the grand final. They've been able to warm up effectively. Their mechanics are on point. Synergy. The way that they can change things up from short-term passing to long-term passing, from fast play and hurried play to patience and a little bit of tender play, waiting for those moments, fakes. It's a really exciting team to watch, and I wonder whether they are going to go up against their old nemesis in Falcons once again. Well, they've got 2 series to break through, including the next one upcoming. Twisted Minds, their opponents. It's on after this.